Good evening, everybody. At this time, we'll call the meeting for Curriculum Committee at 7:10 PM. Agenda item 2.1, presentation by communities and schools on end-of-year reports.
Yes, ma'am, and I think we have people here from community and schools. Mrs. Pettis getting set up right now. Welcome.
Dr. Carmen, Board President and members of the board. My name's Eva Perez, and I'm the Executive Director for Communities and Schools of Cameron
Okay.
County.
Thank you.
And so today I'm going to go ahead and give you an update as to the outcomes of last year. As you all know, we went through the pandemic just as everybody else. And so we were able to provide services to our students. In your package that you have, you should have a form listed as San Benito Board Meeting period September 2020 through July 2021. It's actually a list of the services that we provided by the campuses that we have here. And it says the number of students, which is the 95 caseload that is given to each site coordinator, including Gateway and PRC, because that's a site coordinator that handles both campuses. And so because we fall under TEA, our caseload is determined by TEA, and so every year they determine what our caseload is. And so last year it was 95 as the year before. And as you can see, the second line item, it says CIS student virtual instruction, and we also have the face-to-face because we started assisting with the remote learning at the beginning of the school year. And then we moved on in November, and right after spring break, most of our students came back, and so we did face-to-face instruction as well. And so you have the numbers listed by campus. And then, of course, we have also non-CIS students that were also given services by CIS because our program is one that we do not turn back anybody. So we provide services for anyone that comes into our office that requests assistance, we'll go ahead and help. Maybe it could be a one-time help, one-time service. But if we feel that they are eligible for our program, then we'll go ahead and give them an application, and we'll go ahead and sit down to see if we can assess them and if they'll become eligible for our program. Then they will be added to our caseload. But again, we do not turn anybody back. What type of services we're providing during the remote learning was we re-engage students. We make sure that our students were attending, because at the beginning of the school year, most of our kids were online. We did assist our teachers and administrators because the teachers would tell us these students are not engaging whatsoever. So we would either call them up, try to get them to engage. If not, we would call the parents, or we would do home visits as well. What we did also is that we provided assistance in delivering any type of hotspots, any type of laptops or anything that needed to be delivered to the students so that they could have that. That was also something that we assisted the school, depending on the students and depending on what students didn't have the means to come and get that technology, we would take it home. Of course, within that, we also educated and assisted our parents and students with their passwords, with signing in, because a lot of our parents are not computer savvy. And so we would take our time to call them and let them know, look, this is what's happening. Your child is not engaging. And so we would do a lot of parent conference as well, one-on-one, just to let them know the progress of the student based on communication that we had with their teachers. And so that is something that we also assisted. We also did the mental health support. We had a lot of students that their self-esteem was very low due to the isolation. And so we assisted not just the students, but also the parents, because we had a lot of parents that also were going through difficult situations, because some of our parents are not, they don't receive any government assistance. So just the thought that they didn't know where their next meal was coming was also very problems with them. And so they would reach out to us. And so we We do have a license, we do have a mental health specialist that we provide any support to our parents. We do training, we do early signs of mental health, we do training first aid, we do self-awareness as well, wellness, because during the pandemic, as you all know, it was the students and the parents were both they came into problems, and so they just didn't know who to turn to. So that we do have someone fully staffed with us, and so we did reach out to anybody that needed the assistance that they could reach out to us. Like I mentioned, we did home visits, we did phone calls, we did a lot of food assistance, curbside, we did hygiene product assistance, we did rental assistant incentives. We gave incentives to motivate our kids when they came back. For our juniors and seniors that were going to graduate, we told them, if you do good, we have cap and gowns that we can go ahead and help you. And so we used the cap and gown as an incentive so that they could go ahead and do as much as they could so that they could reach that deadline is to graduate, and they didn't have to worry about their cap and gown. So that's one of the ways that we did. We also did toys for our students, and so we motivate all of our elementary schools. The whole schools would get toys from us, just as a little incentives because of what they were going through and also because of the progress that they were doing. Aside from that, we did a lot of agency referrals, depending on the needs of our students and the needs of our families, and that would be to our food banks, family crisis, mental health, tropical. We had all those services that we were referring out to other agencies here in the community that was also free to our families, and so we had that communication that we can refer out to. And of course, we also had some homeless students that have been identified by the district, and so we also provided assistance for them through clothing or anything, school supplies, things like that they needed. And so that is basically what we did as a summary as to what we did while the pandemic was going on and toward the end of the pandemic as well. Any questions on this report?
Ms. Perez, if I may, I don't have a question, but I've only been on the board for 11 months. And so I've been fortunate to hear a previous presentation that you made to the board back a while back. But now, being a school district employee with Rio Hondo and having a communities in schools for the first time ever, I applaud you and your team, and I applaud communities in schools for the phenomenal job that you're doing with our students.
Thank
The
you.
outreach, just in a 6 weeks amount of time at my campus, our communities and schools have provided students with clothing, have made home visits, have helped with attendance, have helped with incentives. So in a district our size here in San Benito, it's phenomenal what you do with our kids. So thank you all for the services you provide, not only to our students, but their families as well. Especially during this pandemic time, it
Yes.
affected everyone in many different ways. And so what you all do is very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? The following report is just an outcome of what our TEA, all our data is submitted into our TEA, and these were the outcomes for the District of San Benito as a whole. I'm just going to briefly go. Academics, we had a 93.3 improvement in behavior, 87.67, attendance 91.06, and basics needs, we have 98.8. Promoted, 93.44. Stay in school, 96.84. And then, of course, graduate, 91%. And if you look at the figures on the right, that tells you the number of cases, students that we had. And then the middle numbers are the students that improved, the number of students. And so that's how we got the percentages, I'm sorry. And so the following pages are individually based on those same services, but they're individualized by the campuses. So if you needed to know exactly how Berta Cavazza, Miller Jordan, San Benito High School, or VMA, the numbers are there. And then at the very end, we have the dropout prevention chart. And this is the chart that determines, we keep track of those 95 students. And so if we have someone that withdraws and stays within San Benito, so let's say that a student is at Miller Jordan and transfers to Berta Cavazos. Since we have a site coordinator at Berta Cavazo, the file is transferred to Berta Cavazo so that they can continue providing services for that student. That's if it's within the local. If the student goes to Brownsville, we do have communities and schools in Brownsville as well. That would be the same thing. If it goes to Houston, we'll do the same thing because we have communities and schools in Houston. If it leaves the state, there's 28 states that have communities and schools as well, and we do a follow-up as well. If the state doesn't have it, then we go ahead and close the file at that time. But if that student goes to a state that does have it, then we have to follow up. And so we do follow our students to make sure. So on that first page at the very bottom, if you look, there's about 21 students that we lost from this district. But at the very bottom, you can see the notation where it says 3 of them went to Florida, 2 to Kansas, 3 to Minnesota, 2 to California, 1 to Dallas, 1 to Corpus, 3 to Houston, 2 to Mesquite, 1 to North Texas, 1 to San Antonio, 1 Laguna Vista, 1 Edinburgh, and 1 Harlingen. So we do keep track of our students to make sure that they are enrolled once they leave us. We just don't drop them, so we do follow them because we know that those students need to have our services, and so we try to have a number where we can let them know, if you're going into the Houston area, this is the person that you need to contact so that you can continue the services with communities and schools. Any questions on those reports? No? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Great
you.
presentation and great news to know that you're serving all these students and families. Thank you.
And thank you for
And
this data. It's very informative for us as board members. And I know that you all do great stuff with the kids because I worked with Mr. Herrera, who rests in peace. And, but he would do a great job, so I know that
Thank you.
you're very much needed. You all are taking care of the basic needs. If you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you all are taking care of those basic needs that those kids need to help them self-actualize in school.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you have your home. We're just across the street, per se. We're a new building, and we just love it. And so anytime you want to stop by, our doors are open for you guys. Okay?
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. You have a good night.
Next agenda item, 2.2, review and discussion of the memorandum of understanding between San Benito CISD and Buckner Children and Family Services, Inc. for the 2021-22 school year.
Ms. Alvarado?
This MOU is Buckner FACE, which is Family and Youth Success. They have been around for a very long time. I'm fully aware of their services. They work with some of our at-risk students and some of our families who are also having conflict. They support students. They have to have parental permission, though, before, this is just on top of the counselor that we have at our schools. This is another avenue for students. I spoke to Sonia, I can't say her last name, Figueroa, but with kind of like that, Figueroa. And I did ask her about these, the background checks. This is a state-funded, so they do go through extensive, like 3 background checks on their employees and their case managers before working with our students.
Do they give you any backup on that or anything, or do you
That's
just
what she
take?
told me. I talked to her about an hour before I got here. That's what she shared with me, because I asked her specifically that question.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions, concerns? No? Agenda item? And did Mr. Weller look at the contract? If not, if you can get it to him. Okay, thank you. Next agenda item, 2.3, review and discussion of the purchase of Imagine Learning Math for district-wide students.
Yes, ma'am, and I know Ms. Alvarado will elaborate on this. Imagine Learning is a program that we parted ways with a couple years back due to financial constraints. With the money we have received, both through ESSER and our T-Class grant, we are hoping to be able to bring this back. It benefits our students. And one added advantage to it is we believe it'll help us actually with our HB 45 requirements on the small group tutoring. That's an added bonus. But Ms. Alvarado, you want to give some inside information?
So, right now with the HB 45, we do have students who need to fulfill those hours, and our principals have been working diligently to have those committee meetings, as I'm sure, Mr. Moreno, you know about all that. And then they have to fulfill those minutes, those hours throughout the year. So Imagine Learning, we met with them, Ms. Cornett, Ms. Gomez, and myself, to help support our principals at the campus, because it is requiring small group. HB 45 is requiring small group, 3 to 1. A lot of our parents have said, it can be a little bit bigger than that. They've checked that off. So this is a way for the students to also get some of those tutoring if they have live tutors on this program. So that would also count to help teachers when they work with groups. If they rotate them, they can have them on this program, and they can access a live tutor who is a certified teacher to help with those hours, those minutes of tutoring.
The total cost on this would be 107,000?
It's actually 101. There's no sales tax, so we have a revised, it's cheaper than that.
101 for all the campuses listed on here?
Yes, that's correct.
And that is per year. We're recommending a 3-year, so 101,000 per year. So the total would be 303,000.
Was this previously budgeted?
This is budgeted in our rebound plan
Yes,
and through ESSER funds.
yes.
Although I think we can supplement that even with T-Class now that we got that grant, right?
That is correct.
So it does qualify into the T-Class grant as well.
And how long would that grant be for? How many years?
ESSER is 3, T-Class is, how long do we have to spend that money, ladies?
I believe 2 years.
2?
Mhm.
Okay.
Ms. Alvarado, I heard Dr. Coleman mention that we parted ways with Imagine Learning a few years back. Is Imagine Learning that same program that at one point in time was given to the students in the state of Texas for free as well? When we had a reading program, and no, that wasn't the math program?
No, that was, I believe, iStation, or not? It was-
iStation was reading?
No, it wasn't iStation, but who was the one for math? Ms. Cornett, Ms. Gomez, principals, the one
I
that
don't
was?
recall. But it wasn't Imagine Learning, this is something
No, it was not
totally
Imagine
different.
Learning,
Okay.
no.
No worries, thank you.
Agenda, that becomes an agenda item. Agenda item 3.1, committee concerns. Any questions, comments? Meeting is adjourned at 7:28.